unlike with the addition and subtraction, we don't just multiply corresponding pieces together. When you multiply, you have to take a row times a column. And then what we do is we multiply the corresponding pieces. So we do the 3 times 3, the negative 5 times 4, and the 2 times negative 5. And we will add all of those together to get a single number. Okay, so do you guys see which ones I'm multiply? You take the first one, second times the second, the third times the third. Multiply, so we get 9 plus negative 20 plus negative 10. Add all those together, so this row times that column gives me a negative 21. So you have to take an entire row times an entire column to get one answer. When we add or subtract, we said the matrices had to be the same size in order for you to be able to add or subtract them. With multiplication, it's a little bit different. Because we have to take a row times a column, those are the numbers that have to be equal. So what we want to write down, the number of columns in the first must equal the number of rows in the second. So jot that down, then we'll talk more about what is. So what we will do is we will write the size of each matrix when we get ready to multiply them. So if I took an m by n times an n by l, the number of columns in the first, remember we do row by column when we talk about the size. So the number of columns in the first has to equal the number of rows in the second. So when you set these up, these two numbers have to be the same. The size of the final matrix will be the outside numbers, so an m by l. Unlike regular multiplication, order does matter with this. If I switched it and did an n by l times an m by n, can we multiply those? Do my middle numbers match? No. So the order is going to make a difference when we go to multiply these. So here is just a question along those lines. Can you multiply a 2 by 3 with a 3 by 5? Yes. If you set those up, a 2 by 3, a 3 by 5, if these numbers match, you can multiply them. What's the size of our answer? A 2 by 5. The outside numbers tell you the size of your final matrix. Could I flip the order? Could I do the 5 by 3 times the 2 by 3? No, these numbers do not match, so those are not possible. You cannot multiply that direction. Okay, so for the rest of the day today, we are just going to be multiplying some matrices. So we'll do a few examples, and then I'll give you guys time to work on your own. So I want to find A times B. First, we have to make sure it's possible to do A times B. So that's when we look at the size. When we do size, we do rows by columns. So matrix A, how many rows do we have? How many columns? Okay. Matrix B, how many rows? How many columns? So can these be multiplied? Yes. How big will my final answer be? 2 by 4. So we will have 2 rows and 4 columns. Okay. To do this, we take rows times columns. So for instance, this entry right here is entry in row 1, column 1. So to find it, you will take row 1 times column 1. So we multiply those corresponding numbers and then add them together. So I will do 2 times 2, which is 4, plus 4 times 4, which is 16, plus negative 1 times negative 3, which is 3. Do you guys see how I got those numbers? So that first number will be a 23. So I'm moving along. This is still row 1, but it would be column 2. So you will take row 1 times column 2. So when we do that, we do the 2 times 5, which gives us the 10, 4 times 8, which gives us 32, negative 1 times 1, which is negative 1. Add those together, and we get 41. Okay, how would I find this one? So first row, we're just moving down the line in this matrix. So now we're going to multiply it by the third column. So 2 times 1 is 2, 4 times 0 is 0, negative 1 times negative 2 is 2, so that gives us a 4. What about this one? So we have 2 times 4 is 8, 4 times 6, 24, negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. Add those together and we get 33. All right, this is what? So I have to take the second row, bless you, times the first column. So 5 times 2 is 10, 8 times 4 is 32, 0 times negative 3 is 0, and we get 42. This would be row 2, column 2. So 5 times 5 is 25, 8 times 8 is 64, 0 times 1 is 0, we get 89. Row 2, column 3, so second row, third column, 5 times 1 is 5, 8 times 0 is 0, 0 times negative 2 is 0, we get a 5. And finally, this is row 2, column 4. So, second row in the fourth column. So we get 5 times 4 is 20, 8 times 6 is 48, 0 times negative 1 is 0, and that gives us 68. So that is our final A times B matrix. Could I do B times A on this one? What's the size of B? 3 by 4. Size of A? 2 by 3. So could I do it that direction? No, that way is not possible. All right. Questions there? So let's do another one together, and then I may have you guys try one on your own. Let's do this product. first you have to see if they can be multiplied. What's the size of the first one? And the second one? 2 by 4. So can we multiply? Yes. These numbers match, so we can multiply. How big will my final answer be? So we're doing 2 rows, 4 columns again. Alright, so we're starting in row 1, column 1. So the first row times the first column. 2 times 2 is 4. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. So that first entry is negative 2. Then we have row 1, column 2. So if I multiply those, 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. So we get a 4. This is row 1, column 3. So you take the first row times the third column. So 2 times 4 is 8. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. So we get a positive 2. Row 1, column 4. So if we multiply those, 2 times 6 is 12. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. And that gives us an 8. Now we're moving to the second row. So row 2, column 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 0 times 3 is 0. So that one gives us a 2. Row 2, column 2. 1 times 1 is 1. 0 times negative 1 is 0. So we get a 1. Row 2, column 3. We get 4 plus 0 is 4. And then row 2, column 4. We get 6 plus 0, which is 6. Is everybody understanding how we get these? Okay. I'm going to give you guys one to do. So here is your problem. The size, you do row by column. So this first one has 2 rows and 3 columns. Second one has 3 rows and 2 columns. So can I multiply them? Yes. How big should my answer be? 2 by 2. I've seen several of you that had like a 2 by 3 there. So make sure you take a second to do that so you know what you should be getting. So first one, row 1, column 1. So if I multiply those together, we get 1 plus negative 2 plus 6, which gives us 5. Then we have row 1, column 2. So if I multiply it by this, we get 2 plus 0 plus 12, which gives us 14. Alright, next we are in row 2, column 1. So row 2, column 1, we get 0 plus 1 plus 8, which is a 9. Row 2, column 2, so 2 times 0 is 0. Negative 1 times 0 is 0. 4 times 4 is 16. And that gives us a 16. So that's our final answer. Questions there? We need to do another one? Good? Okay. There's math Excel assignment, so you've got time to work on that now and ask questions.